Hello viewers, welcome once again to a Seminar of Good Way Online Maths. Today we'll be discussing a vital topic in mathematics, which is indices. In mathematics, we do observe the product of similar numbers. For example, if I have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and in some cases if I have a times a times a times a. At this point, if we simplify this, you can see that we have 2 exponent 4 and a exponent 4. So at this point, you can see that this is just a simplified form of 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 and a times a times a times a. At this point, you can see that this 2 is just the base, that's the number in question, and you can see that this 4 here is just the number of appearance or repetition of these 2. So you can see that this 2 is serving as the base. That's the main number that is being considered. And this 4 is just the how many times this number 2 occurred, or this number A occurred. So at this point, you can see that this our 2 is tagged the base, and this 4 is tagged the power. And our A here is also the base, the main number in consideration, and we have this one, which is 4, as the power. So at this note, we can simply define indices as the power or exponent to which this any number or variable or any quantity is raised. So you can see that indices is just the power or exponent which any number, variable, quantities is raised. So it shows, this indices also shows how many times a number is what? Multiplied. As you can see here, this 2 is multiplied 4 times. And this A is multiplied 4 times. So any time or how many times any given number, I can have my P times my P times my P. As you can see here, my P is multiplied 3 times. So I can write my P in a simplified manner, which is P times P times P. I have 3 P's, which is 1, 2, 3, which is P raised to power 3. So you can see my P, which is the main variable in consideration, is called my base, which we are studying. And how many times this number occurred is what? 3 times. So you can see that indices is just how many times a number is raised to a given power. So indices as we exist in this earth, everything in this universe is governed by a certain law. So as indices is governed by a great law. So in doing operations on indices, we apply many rules and regulations while solving indices. We have the first one, which is multiplication law. Multiplication law exists when we are multiplying 2 indices. Let's say I have 2, as we have here, 2 raised to power 4 times 2 raised to power 2. It must obey a certain law in mathematics before we can be able to simplify this. And this law says that a raised to power x plus times a raised to power y is equals to a raised to power x plus y. Let's do a simple operation on this. Let's say I have, under this multiplication law, let's say I have a raised to power 2 times a raised to power 4. At this point, we can just simplify this in normal sense. We can just do a times a, then times the second one, which is a times a times a times a. So to simplify this, you can see that I have a raised to power 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is a raised to power 6. At this point, I have a raised to power 6. But this will help us, this formula will help us in a situation where we have large powers. To simplify this, we can just say, since this is my A, we can just say that they have their powers times, a times a raised to power 2 times a raised to power 4. We can see that they have an equal base, and they have powers of 2 and 4. So to simplify this, you can see that we have a raised to power 2 plus 4, which will give us a raised to power 6, which is the same thing as this. Let's say we have 3 raised to power 5 times 3 raised to power 7. So at this point, using the same pattern here, you can see that we have the base of 3. So we have base 3 and base 3. So they have common bases. So to simplify this, I take out the base to be 3. Their individual powers are 3 raised to power 5 and 3 raised to power 7. So I simply add their powers, which is 5 plus 7. And at the end, you can see that we have 3 raised to power 12. So a raised to power 3 raised to power 5 times 3 raised to power 7 is equivalent to or equal to 3 raised to power 12. Thank you and have a wonderful day ahead.